am I allowed to keep my child off school for cultural events such as Appleby Horse Fair, or if a member of family has passed away? And I'd say this is the member of family passing away is probably quite an important one
Mm.
within the community. It tends to go on for quite a long time, with sort of waits and celebrations of life and such. So yeah, I'd say it's quite a prominent thing that may happen. Um, yeah, so what are your thoughts on that one there?
That's an interesting one. I mean, this is where it gets interesting with authorizations and head teachers and things. Head teachers can choose to authorize, and I think that is actually a bit problem. They are given guidance, and it can be a bit problematic if because it's down to one person, and one person might be having a, head teacher might be having a really good mood or feeling really, maybe it's unfair, but they're feeling really sort of, terribly, I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're feeling very kind one day and they think someone's lost their uncle or whatever, I shall allow them a day off. And then the next day, Ofsted's turned up, 3 members of staff are sick, they're just in a horrible mood and they're scrawling no to everything. Do you see what I mean? It's not an
Yeah,
ideal system because it does allow, unfortunately, for that one person to be having a good or bad day. It's a bit like being, in the tribunal presenting a case. If you're judged into in a bad mood, it might not go so well for you.
yeah,
So what I would say is I would make sure that if these things are happening, you are giving as much detail as possible. So, and I would try and tie this back so far as possible to the protected characteristics. So if it is for cultural events like Appleby Horse Fair or things like that, and explain why that's important to the community, why it matters. Because then I think we're starting to get into the idea that this is linked to a protected characteristic, and you're making it more difficult for the school to turn around and say no, basically, that it's more likely
yeah,
to be unreasonable if they do. And I think I'm seeing this a lot now with any kind of form filling with local authorities or schools. It's not just a matter of just saying my child needs to have the day off for this. You're going to have to give them more reasons. You almost want to make it difficult for them to say no, or make it look
hmm
like it's reasonable for them to say no. And again, I would say, because so many different cultures have different things that they do when it comes to burial and things like that. Some communities like the Muslims and Irish people, I think, bury very fast, almost the next day. I certainly remember, it's going back a few years, but when Princess Diana died, her boyfriend was buried pretty much 2 days later, and she, waited a week to go, and that was considered quite normal. That it took a long time to arrange a funeral, things like that. So if there is a reason why culturally and in the community that matters, again, explain why that matters. I don't want to talk off my head because I'm not quite sure, but I certainly know in Judaism there's sort of different things that happen after so many months and so many years, which are very important to the religion and to mourning. So that, that's another religion with a different way of doing things, but where you might want to explain why that's important. But if you don't explain it, you can't work on the basis that the head teacher or whoever's making the decision will know that, because they probably won't. And they will just go, well, I'm not going to say yes to this or whatever, or there's no reason why I'd have to say yes to this, so I shall just say no because I'm worried about my absence figures. You've got to remember the different pressures they're seeing it from when they look at these forms. So as I said, make it
yeah.
difficult for them to say no if there's good reasons.
And why it can be so valuable to tell the school of the child's heritage,
Yeah.
because you may choose not to. And again, as a Romany gypsy, I've been there myself, where I was registering at a new doctor's, and you sort of hover over the white British and you hover over the Irish traveller / Romany gypsy, and you're
Mm.
just not sure. But if you don't tell them, they don't know. They can't, they can't necessarily say, yeah, that's fine, go off to Appleby. They don't, if they don't know your heritage, they don't know your culture. And although being an Irish traveller, Romany gypsy is quite difficult to prove, we don't sort of carry a license around. The school having prior knowledge of your heritage and culture is just going to help you make your case as to why you need that time out for your child, or you don't want them to attend certain lessons, or you're having concerns around bullying. The more information the school has about your child, the better equipped they are to help. And again, of course, there are going to be people that have bad, sort of bad, um, the word has escaped to me, bad experiences.
I would say, yeah, bad experiences.
Yes, bad experiences with schools and certain members of staff. But on the whole, it just helps them to help you. It just gives them